So we have basically indeed Flanders investment and trade. So Flanders is the northern part of Belgium. In the middle, we have Brussels, hub.Brussels it's called, the agency. And then we have the southern part of Belgium, which is the Walloon region, Wallonia, with AWEX as an agency. Now, first of all, of course, let's have a look at Belgium and these, when we claim that we are, yes, one of the best locations for logistics and distributions. Of course, we have to come up with some elements that can justify that. Well, let's have a look at some reference works and expert views. First of all, Belgium is amongst the most connected countries in the world. That's an index that we see here, number 4. We're always top ranked. So that's because of connections, of course, within Europe, but also on an intercontinental scale. Of course, also the connections with UK are very good through ports and other means, that's for sure. But the most important reference work, if you look at logistic performance, is basically made by the World Bank, and that's the Logistical Performance Index. It's every 2 years they make up their ranking, and so the latest edition is from 2018. So what you see there is that Belgium is ranked number 3 in the world for overall logistical performance. Germany is number 1, Sweden number 2, so all European countries basically in the top 3. But important is, if you dig in a little bit deeper in the rankings, and what the World Bank is saying is that 2 of the most important features that you need for logistics, Belgium is ranked higher. And what are the most important elements for logistics? Well, that's on-time delivery. That's very important. I think being fast is important. And a second element is, of course, a very competitive price. So if you are fast and cheap, then of course, I think that's very interesting from a business proposal. Well, if we look at the same World Bank edition, Belgium is ranked number 1 when we look at the competitive prices. And so for international shipments, that includes basically everything in logistics. So it's not only transport by vessel or ship, it's also transport by train or truck and so on. Everything is included. So we have a very competitive price. So that's very interesting, I think. So then there we are better than Sweden or Germany. That is overall the number 1. And if we look at best on-time delivery, again, Belgium ranks number 1 there, on par with Denmark. And so I think two main features for logistics operations, on-time delivery and a competitive price, that's what you all aim for, I guess. Another point that is important, I think, let me go back to this one. We talked about connectivity, fast delivery. Of course, we have very reliable and predictable supply chains, extensive trucking and so on. 2 main elements also when decisions are made for distribution and your logistics is, of course, the distance to your customers, the market. Of course, if you look at the map for Europe, you see that Belgium is very centrally located, that's for sure, which makes the distance to most of the customers very interesting. The shorter the distance, the less costs you have. So that's obvious. Logistics is often set location, location, location. So that's true, that's important. But the combination, of course, distance to your market, combination also with available infrastructure. And we have the densest network for roads, for trains in the world. You see all those connections. You see here a picture of the freight flows for rail, for road, inland waterways and so on. You see it's all interconnected, so excellent location there. If we look at another cost, warehousing rent, for instance, you see that also there it's very affordable prices when we do a benchmark with neighboring possible locations. The two places, if we compare Brussels, for instance, pricing is there. If you compare with other locations, Antwerp is in there. If you, for instance, compare with port areas, Antwerp, the main port in Belgium, you see that it's way cheaper than the port of Rotterdam, for instance, for warehousing, or the port of Hamburg. If you compare those prices, you see that we are at least 20% cheaper than those areas. So, I mean, overall, it's an excellent combination. If we look at the experts and the reference works, we see that the combination of all those elements makes Belgium a very attractive location when you look at optimizing your logistics and supply chain.